Welcome to episode 30 of the Coffee, Yarn, and Dinosaurs podcast. My name is Ruth. I am a knitting, crochet, and Tunisian crochet pattern designer. All of the information for me can be found in the box below. Because I have already recorded this introduction at least 3 other times, it's been a while, but that's okay. So let's get right into finished objects. I am wearing my most recent finished object, and some of you might recognize this from last time. This was supposed to be my Finish or Frog project from either July or August, which is a little ridiculous. Today is Tuesday, October 6th, 2020. So this is actually a shawl pattern. This is called Print of the Wave by Uni Jang, and this is my oldest work in progress, which is now not a work in progress. It is a finished object. Oh yeah. Because I pulled it out and I decided at the beginning of this year that I was going to finish or frog all projects that had been started prior to 2020. And this was my oldest one. I started it way back in, I want to say 2010 or 2011. So this is like a 9 to 10 year old project. And I had gotten all the way to the point where you knit this long strip. And I had gotten all the way to the point where you're supposed to put the border on, and for some reason just put it down and never picked it back up again. So when I finally picked it back up again, my stitch gauge had changed significantly. So the border is supposed to get knit on the side of the shawl, and the stitches were, my gauge is so much looser now than it used to be that I was just, it was ridiculous. So I decided that instead of doing the prescribed border, I was going to turn it into a cowl. So what I did is I took the 2 ends and I overlapped this end so it goes all the way around, and the ends are overlapped in here. And the way that I did it was by, I went around the entire shawl with I did a slip stitch bind off in crochet, and then I did 1 row of single crochet all the way around. And then I joined them together with slip stitch, and I did this nice double border. So it adds some weight to it, and it also makes just this really nice smooth ending. And I got the idea for this border from another designer who puts them on her blankets. I watched a tutorial of hers and she puts them on her blankets. I will try to remember to link the tutorial in the box below if you want to see it. Her name is Tina, I don't remember her last name. It's something really long because it's Icelandic. Like she's actually in Iceland. So, but she does beautiful mosaic crochet designs, and she puts her border, this border on those. And I really, really liked it. So I decided to put it on my cowl, and ta-da. I guess technically this could almost be a hood too. No, just kidding. The back goes up, and I'm not like, I don't know. It's not bad. It could be a hood if I needed it to be. Like if I was tucking it into a jacket or something and I didn't have a hood and it was cold. Yeah. So, ta-da! This is my first finished object, and I'm really, 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 really excited that this is done because it has been so long in the making. The next cool thing is I finished a sweater for my daughter. Doo-doo-doo. This is not a pattern. This is, I know how to Tunisian crochet and I know how to design things, and I understand the basic concept of how sweater design works. So I took her measurements and I made her a little sweater. And it fits her very nicely, which I'm pleased with. And it is bright unicorn pink, which she loves. But she put it on for like 30 seconds and was like, yeah, I'm done. I was like, oh, okay, cool. But it was really, really fun to make. I made it with Tunisian knit stitch, and the body is flat. You decrease for the neck, re-increase for the back of the neck, go down the back, do the border, and then I crocheted the sleeves flat. and then I just zip, basically zipped it shut with single crochet or slip stitch or something. So yeah, this yarn, this beautiful squishy yarn, is Knit Picks Wonder Fluff. I guess if you want to get technical, it's We Crochet Wonder Fluff, because I bought it off the We Crochet website. But if you aren't aware, Knit Picks and We Crochet is literally exactly the same thing. They're just marketing to different audiences. They're marketing to crochet versus knitters. So, you know. But I like that it's got this really fun little lacy border on the bottom. And I really like this stitch. So yeah, I just thought it would be fun. I'm probably not going to write up a pattern for this. This was just me amusing myself because I did not realize how pink this yarn was going to be when I bought it. So I bought it and I amused myself and I made a sweater for her, and now we're done. Moving on. I've been doing a lot of projects like that because I am working on a lot of design things behind the scenes. So while I'm working on these long-term design projects, my, I guess, creativity also needs to be finishing things. So I have been cranking hats on my knitting machine, and it's a great way to stash down, right? To use up yarn that I don't have a purpose for otherwise. This was left over from my Desert Aquifer blanket. This is Lion brand Ferris Wheel held double. And you can see the ombre sort of starts to change. It starts to get blended together when it gets on the inside of the hat. So I just, boop. So this is a really, really heavy hat, and you can see it's very stiff because it's essentially a bulky weight hat. It's 2 strands of DK weight together, so it's like a bulky to super bulky weight. And I knit it on my AliExpress King, I think is what you call it. It's a 48 pin cranking knitting machine. So, ta-da! It's a tiny bit small on me. You can sort of see it starting to go like up at the ears a little bit. But I have a really big head. I have a 23.5-inch head, which means that I wear a men's like extra large hat when I go into a store. So, but I would totally wear this. I tend to just throw these into a bucket, like a winter bucket. And that way when we go out to play in the snow or when we go out when it's cold, the kids can just like grab a hat and put it on, and there are a whole bunch of choices, and it's not like, Mom, where's that one hat that I had? So, I mean, granted that still happens because it'll be like, where's my blue hat? I don't know. Pick another one. But yeah, it's a really nice snug hat. And the way that I arrived at doing 2 strands of the Ferris wheel held together is because I tried it first with 1, which technically this is still a functional hat. It's just very, like loose and slouchy. I guess if I were going to wear this, I might even fold the brim up. Nope. No, we will not be doing that. But yeah, so 1 strand of Ferris wheel is very slouchy. And I don't know, I don't really like this one because like look how loose the brim is. But that's just a tension issue. I am still learning how to use the knitting machine. Not how. I know how to use the knitting machine. I'm sort of learning how to change my finished projects by the settings that I use. And so this is a tension issue because when you use a knitting machine, you have the same number of stitches every single time you go around. You just do, unless you're working back and forth, which is a different story. So because you have the same number of stitches, the way you change the hat size or the finished scarf or cowl or whatever you're making is by changing the tension. So you change like how tightly you hold the yarn as it's feeding into the machine. And this was very loose. And this one I held a little bit tighter. So obviously. So yeah, these are, I really enjoy these because you can see the colors spin up in the machine. And it also gives me that feeling of I finished a project while I have all those big long design projects that are secret, and you will see them soon. So along those lines, I also machine knitted some fingerless gloves. So these are, I had never tried the straight setting on my machine. So these are a flat panel. So this is knit flat, and I sewed it together, left a space for the thumb, and I picked up stitches for the top, and I picked up stitches for the thumb. And the result is pretty darn comfy. I am not in love with the yarn, which is kind of why I was using it for experimenting. But again, they're warm, they're functional, and I fiddled with the top cuffs and the thumb until this fits really well. So these will also go into the winter basket, because even though my oldest is only 7, he will totally pick these up and put these on and be like, they're mine. So they'll be useful, or I will wear them. This yarn is the Premier yarn. I don't remember what it's called. I'll try to put it on the screen. It's the fuzzy one. So it feels really soft and fuzzy, and I love how it feels knit up. I just don't love the colors. And the reason I had this in my stash was because I was going to be using it for a baby blanket, and I ended up using a different yarn. So now I just have, like, here's these balls of these yarns, and it's, I don't know. So it's a good time. Machine knitted some gloves. So those are my finished objects. And you guys are probably like, oh my gosh, why is she talking forever? Because I haven't had this many finished objects in a really long time. I don't know, bear with me. Everybody take a breath. Take a sip of coffee or tea or whatever you're drinking. You know, check your stitch count. We'll move on to whips. So, first whip, which is still not done, and it needs to be done by the end of this month. First whip is my 8-day star blanket, which could be an 8-day star blanket if I actually worked on it consistently for 8 days straight. But I am loving it so far. I still have the purple to go. Which I'm a little bit concerned about because I am using stash yarn. And this blue strip used almost an entire skein of yarn. Yeah, so I'm just using stash acrylic, and so I could get more, but I really don't want to have to buy another skein of yarn and hope that the colors match and all that. So yeah, we'll see what we do. I'm probably going to try it with the purple, and if I run out of purple, I don't know what I will do. Probably go to the store and buy another skein of yarn for the last like row and a half. But I really, really enjoy the pattern, and I think the mama is really going to love this too. So hopefully this will be finished by the next time, the next time I record a podcast, because the baby this blanket is for is due October 31st, I think. So cutting it a little close. So I'm working on that. The next thing I'm working on, actually working on, is my Beekeepers Quilt. And this has been around forever, you guys. This is now my oldest work in progress. So because I finished this, this is now my oldest work in progress. And I'm working from oldest to newest, trying to finish up, like I said, anything that was started before 2020. So basically what happened is about 7 or 8 years ago, this pattern went viral. It was super duper popular. Everybody was making them. And what you do is you knit these little hex puffs, is what the designer calls them. They're little hexagons that you fill with stuffing, with like polyfill or whatever. And you can, let's see if I can find some of the fancy ones. So you can do, like, this one has smocking on it. Smocking on it. I have a super cool one in here that if I can find it, I would love to actually be able to show you guys. Aha, look. This one. This one has a TARDIS on it, which is awesome. This is like my favorite one. I'm super proud of it. Or I tried out a little bit of color work. Like this one has color work on it. This one has a guy stranded on a desert island. This one has cables, you know, so it's just fun. It's like a little project. But these are so much work. And I started it 7.5 years ago. I started it while I was pregnant with my oldest son, who just turned 7 in August. And I was like, this will be a wonderful blanket / play mat for him to do tummy time on. And now all of my children are too old for tummy time because my youngest is about to turn 3. So I'm trying to finish this up. I'm trying to just get this done. I have probably about 50 to 100 more of these to join in. And obviously you can see this is not going to be a full-size blanket. This is going to be like maybe a beekeeper's lap blanket or like a beekeeper's seat cover or a cushion. But it's kind of funny because I posted this up on Instagram yesterday and so many of you guys said, oh my gosh, I have a whole bucket full of hexapuffs, which is, you know, these. I have a whole bucket full of hexapuffs that need to be joined in. And I was like, join the club. All of us apparently do, because you have to make a full-size blanket. Like if you were going to make a blanket that was actually going to cover you, I think you need somewhere in the neighborhood of like 800 to 1400 puffs. And if you made one a day, that would take like 2 to 5 years, right? Like just think about it, right? 365 days in a year. If you made one a day, that would be 365 puffs in a year. And if you need like 800 to 1400, it's right. So I will probably not be making any more of the little puffies, but I will at least get them all joined together. My kids are like, make this into a giant blanket for me. And I'm like, yeah, we're probably just gonna have a seat cover, beekeeper seat cover, but it's very comfy and it's very, tactile. Like it's really, really fun to touch and squish and play with, which is kind of interesting. And it would definitely work as a weighted blanket. It would just take a really, really long time to make it as a weighted blanket. Mine are just filled with polyfill. And I just sew them together. Like I just kind of whip stitch this one, pass the needle through, whip stitch here, whip stitch there, pass the needle through. So I'm just sewing them together. The pattern calls to do quilt ties, like individual ties. So that way, if one of the puffs gets dirty, you can just remove the puff that is dirty instead of laundering the entire blanket. And I just couldn't see my kids leaving those ties alone. Like if I have a million little ties sticking out of a blanket, my kids will just like pick at them or pull them out. And so I will end up with a bunch of little puffs all over the floor instead of a functional blanket. So, but I'm really, it's kind of funny. I'm really, like enjoying touching this while it's sitting here, which sounds weird, but I think you guys know what I mean. Like the sensation of it is really, really nice. So who knows, maybe I will make more. But first up, we'll be getting, I'll show you my little bag. It's a little, well, I can't show it very well. I don't even know what this, Aveeno. Why do I have a bag that says Aveeno on it? Whatever. So, you know, I have a bag of puffs. And, yeah, I'm missing some because my kids use them for snowball fights. Which is a great use for them because they're just little, you know, and chuck them at people. It's fun. I like it. They like to grab a handful and toss them up in the air. So, Beekeepers Quilt. That was a very long explanation for a very pretty darn simple project. Yeah, I like it. I'm glad that I'm still working on it and finishing it. We'll see where it goes. We'll see what it ends up looking like. Sorry, I keep messing with my eyes. I put on basically a crap ton of makeup before I started filming, and I have never actually learned the right way to put on makeup, and it looked pretty trashy, so I wiped it all off, and now my face is bothering me, but that's okay. Next project I am working on. Gosh. Next project I am working on is my Tunisian Express. And if you have not been around my social media lately, we are doing a crochet along for my Tunisian Express pattern. So the yarn I am using is Malabrigo Rios in their colorway that is called, shoot, I don't know what the colorway is, but it was exclusive to Knit Crate. So I got it in a Knit Crate box, and I am doing the boomerang style. And what that means is at the top, you can see the top is curvy. Instead of being a straight line, the top is curvy. So when it gets a little bit bigger, I'm a little over halfway, and it'll sit nicely around my neck like this. Obviously, this is how I like to wear my shawls or scarves or whatever you want to call it, because this is how I'm wearing it right now. So I am doing this with Malabrigo Rios and an L hook, which is 8 millimeters. And I'm really enjoying the drapiness of the fabric. And this is just going to be 2 skeins. I've just finished, let's see if we can see. I did this many rows of alternating the skeins. So because Malabrigo is a hand-dyed yarn, I decided that I was going to alternate skeins when I got close to the joining part instead of just having a harsh dividing line. So oop, my hook just got caught. I alternated the skeins. So I am a little bit over halfway. And yeah, technically I think, let's see, this is week 4 of the crochet along. So technically it was supposed to end after this week, but a couple people had to wait for hooks, and there were a couple of people that, you know, started and stopped a couple times. So we'll probably let it go for at least 1 more week to let people get things finished up and just done. But yeah, really enjoying that. Let's see. Oh, I have a halfway finished object. I finished one of my Bad Wolf Bay ankle socks. And yes, I will still wear ankle socks in the winter. So the pattern is my own. It is Bad Wolf Bay, and the yarn is by Moonstone Dye Works. Tommy is also a podcaster. Her podcast is Squirrel Pie Productions, and I enjoy watching her podcast, and she showed off this yarn, and I felt like, yeah, I would really like to snag some of that. It's self-striping, and I was anticipating the stripes being a little bit wider when I started this. I'm not really sure why, because I saw the ball of yarn, right? And you can see that the way she's wrapped it like this, you can see that the portions aren't that big. Like, there aren't big, wide stripes of each color wrapped around. And something interesting is, if you look at it, I don't know if I can show you this, the width of the yarn right here is about the same width as a stripe. So you can sort of see like how wide it would be. And that's only if it's wrapped across, and that's only at like the outside of the ball. That doesn't work on the inside of the ball. And it only works for something that's about the same size circumference as the foot. So you see how the ball of yarn is the same size circumference as the sock. That's the reason why you can check the width of the stripes like that. If the ball of yarn were smaller, obviously you could wrap this more times around the circumference of a smaller ball, so you would not be able to measure it accurately. I hope that makes sense. I think you guys get what I'm saying. I'm basically doing sock puppets right here. That's okay. So anyway, I am very happy with this. The yarn is really, really pleasant to knit with. I think it's an 85-15. Excuse me. I believe it's an 85-15 yarn. So 85% superwash merino. Oh, I bet I have the card in here. Do I? Oh, I kept the tag. No, it's 75% superwash, 25% nylon. And it is called Dark Side of the Rainbow. So there's her card. there's the information. And I'm really enjoying knitting with it. I'm glad that I'm doing shorty socks because obviously the lace doesn't really show up very well for this. So I still enjoy knitting it because this is pretty much my favorite sock pattern that I've designed so far, because I just really enjoy the fit and I enjoy the zigzags. But I wish the lace showed up a little bit better, but that's totally on me. That's totally my fault for pairing these two together. But so I have one sock finished, and I needed my sock needles for something else, like a secret design that I can't show you, but I need to finish soon. So, you know, I will get to finish this once I have finished the design projects. So that is that. That is what I'm working on. I want to talk a little bit about potential future maybe projects. Hey guys, no, Josie, don't talk about heinies, please. It's rude. Okay? So I want to talk about potential future projects, because obviously as knitters and crocheters, we are always planning our next project, right? Always. So my next project is going to be to replace my sample for this design. These are my Carrie slipper socks, and they are in super bad condition because I wear them all the time. And you can see they're kind of dingy, and like the soles are, the sole of this one is just threadbare. And the sole of this one, I don't know, sock puppet, what? Doing sock puppets. Y'all, it's just a sock puppet episode. Hi guys. Has a gigantic hole right there. So this yarn is discontinued. This was Lion brand Wool Ease Chunky, which is not the same thing as Thick and Quick, because Thick and Quick is a super bulky, and which is a number 6 if you're using the yarn number thing. And this is the number 5 yarn. Stop gesturing with holy socks. So I saw that Lion brand just came out with a new yarn, which is Hue and Me, and it is a number 5 bulky, which is 80% acrylic and 20% wool. I kind of question whether they took the Lion brand Wool Ease Chunky and repackaged it with new colors and a new brand name, because it works as a perfect replacement and it's the same company. So I really kind of think that maybe they just added a tiny bit more wool and I think this is Wool Ease Chunky, but it feels really soft and I got it in 2 colors. So I'm thinking for this sample, I'm going to revamp the pattern, and I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do a contrasting heel, toe, and cuff. And I also think that I'm going to eliminate the ribbing from the bottom of the foot. So I think that it's going to have just a nice plain stockinette foot. And I'll probably make 2 pairs. This would probably be enough to make 2 pairs and do, or maybe I'll do like fraternal twins or something like that, where you do one for the main and one for the contrast, and then you flip it on the second sock. So let's see, this color is called Spicy, and this one is called, whoop, I'm holding it upside down. No, not, this one is called Rosewater. So this is technically, they say it's a collaboration with Alexi from 2 of Wands, who is, I want to say a knitting designer, because 2 of Wands knitting needles. I can never remember if she does knitting or crochet. But supposedly she, I guess, worked with them and chose the colors or something, which these are super interesting because these are not really my colors. This is a little more red in real life. But so this is a little more red, and this is just like a blush pink. They're kind of neutrally looking, and I don't usually go for neutrals, but I think that these would look really, really nice together. And I was excited to see a yarn. I've been waiting for a yarn that could replace these socks because these are during the winter. Guys, this is why there's holes in these, because I wear these all the time. Like if you take a pair of leggings and you want slippers, but you like hand knit socks, slipper socks, they're the best. And I know I'm tooting my own horn, but you guys, these are the best. And I actually have 3 skeins of each color because I'm gonna probably knit myself like 3 pairs of these. Just being honest, I will probably knit myself like 3 pairs because you can get them done in like a day. You can get a pair done in like a day because they're so fast because it's chunky yarn. Anyway, enough of the tooting my own horn. That will be probably one of my next projects coming up. Another project that I am considering, but I'm back and forth. I'm on the fence. So Tony from TL Yarn Crafts is running a sampler blanket Tunisian crochet along. It's her holiday crochet along. And I love the idea of a sampler blanket. And I love the idea of learning a whole bunch of new Tunisian stitches. Like there's some color work, there's some texture. I saw a mitered square, which is cool. I saw a basic square with some cross stitch on it. So it's really cool looking, but I am not sure that I have the time for it. Number one. Number two, I do not want to go out and buy a whole bunch of yarn for a blanket. Just because I would like to use what I have in stash. So I went stash diving, and what I came up with is not quite enough for a full blanket. She used Lion Brand Pound of Love, which I personally find too scratchy. I knit a blanket out of it for my oldest son, and I almost never used it for him because it was just too scratchy against the skin. So I knew that I didn't want to do that. But I gotta find it. I think I showed you guys this, the Barocco Vintage before. And this is 50% acrylic, 8% or 40% wool, and 8% nylon. And this is my new favorite, like, mid-range yarn. It's about $8 a skein. So I have 5 of these in the beige. I don't have a full skein of it, but I have some leftover Malabrigo Rios from when I made the that raglan sweater I showed you guys a couple episodes ago. We'll have to see if I can balance this. I have some Malabrigo Dos Tierras and another Barocco Vintage in this pretty blue. And I think these would make a great blanket. I'm a little bit shy on yardage for this one and this one. So I also have, this is from Knit Crate. This is, I think Knit Crate has their own brand of yarn that they send out. It's a worsted weight, 40% superwash merino, 30% silk, 30% alpaca. Now, obviously you couldn't machine wash this. This one you can't machine wash either. So these you can. Well, these you can machine wash, but you can't dry. Shouldn't dry. Not can't, shouldn't. I'm debating the merits of whether I want to include these in a blanket. Wow, those are really pretty together. You guys, look. Look how pretty those are together. Ooh. What if we brioched them? Guys, I don't think I'm going to do this blanket crochet along because I think that I need to take these two and I think I need to brioche them together. Like I need more projects. Yep, that might have just made up my mind. These 3 are real pretty together though. Okay, so new plan. I might do a couple of sample squares for this. This was my other thought, is that I might do like 8 squares and then just make them into a big pillow, like a big throw pillow. Because I have enough blanket projects already. I don't really need another large blanket, but I thought it would be fun to like learn some more stitches and do the crochet along. So maybe maybe I'll just do like a scrappy pillow. Because honestly, look at these. Look at these. They belong together. They were made for each other. It's so beautiful. Can you imagine the two of these in like a brioche shawl? Or like brioche for the body and lace for the edge. It would be so nice. Okay, anyway, so sorry. This is what my brain does. Welcome to Designer Brain. And yes, this is how my process usually starts, is usually I see the yarn and I go, oh my gosh, and then it becomes something. So, you know, maybe you'll see the Tunisian crochet along, maybe you won't, because I might be playing with these. Let's see if the yardage is the same. That's important. Let's check this right now. The yardage on the purple is 150 yards per 100 grams. The Dinosaurs is 210 yards per 100 grams. So this one is definitely worsted and this one is definitely not. I don't know. I might try it together anyway and we'll just deal with it. We'll see. We'll swatch it out. Think I'm gonna swatch. Think I'm gonna swatch. Okay, so those are my thoughts for the future. You guys have sat and watched me dance with yarn and dances with yarn. Yep, those are my plans. As always, I love to hear from you guys. It's pretty much why I do this podcast, because it's a nice way for me to be able to connect with you and talk to you and hear from you. So if you have thoughts, if you like what you see, just like type and be like, hey Ruth, I watched your podcast. I liked that project. It was cool. Or, you know, something like that. Yeah, if you, I know I don't put videos up on the most regular basis. So if you want to get notified when videos go up, once you've subscribed, you can click the little bell doohickey and then just say like, let me know when a new video comes up, and you'll get notified when a new video comes up, which is very helpful for someone like me. So, you know, thank you for watching. I hope you guys like my little ramble and my little dances and sock puppets. So, bye.